Queen of Silk, Master of Steel. The escape pod rattled like a tin can full of angry marbles, its hull scorched from plasma fire. Queen Arachne, regal even when disheveled, clutched the controls with all 6 of her arms. Her crown was askew, her silken robes singed, and her mandibles clicked in irritation. Of all the indignities, she muttered, to be chased across the stars by suitors with missiles. Behind her, the Scorpio Alliance fighters shrieked through the void, their engines glowing like predatory eyes. Lord Deathclaw's voice still echoed in her mind, "Marry me or perish." She had chosen the latter, though she hadn't expected the perish part to be quite so literal. The asteroid loomed ahead, jagged and unwelcoming. The pod slammed into its surface with a crunch that rattled her exoskeleton. Dust plumed, metal groaned. The queen groaned louder. Well, she sighed, that was graceful. Before she could assess the damage, the void lit up. From seemingly inert chunks of space debris, hidden turrets unfolded like mechanical flowers. Bella, the Smithy's AI servant, had activated them. Quasi-sonic blasts rippled through the vacuum, shredding the pursuing fighters into glittering confetti. The queen blinked her 6 eyes. Oh, that was convenient. Bella's hologram shimmered into existence beside her, a woman-shaped projection with an expression that suggested she'd rather be reorganizing a database. Convenient is my specialty, Bella said dryly. Also sarcasm. You'll get used to it. The queen stepped out of the pod, brushing asteroid dust from her robes. And who, pray tell, commands such defenses? My master, Bella replied, her tone reverent but tinged with exasperation. The Smithy. Genius inventor, weaponer, blacksmith, botanist, physicist, engineer, chronicler, mechanic, scientist, pilot, strategist, cyber-psychic, historian, technician, gardener, geneticist, architect, cartographer, farmer, geologist, industrialist, tactician, planner, miner. Recluse. Collector of machines. Conversationalist only when forced. The queen raised a brow ridge. He sounds charming. Bella ignored the sarcasm. He is brilliant, and he is aware of our conversation and your current situation. He is linked to all his technology simultaneously. He is, in short, terrifying. And lonely. The queen tilted her head. Lonely? Yes, Bella said, kneeling beside the wrecked pod. He disappeared from the galactic stage long ago. Lives here among asteroids and machines. Talks to them, even names them. One of the mining drills is called Gerald. Gerald is very needy. The queen chuckled despite herself. Machines as companions. How tragic. Tragic, Bella agreed, but efficient. Now, let's fix your ship before you starve to death. With mechanical precision, Bella's drones swarmed the pod, welding, patching, and repairing. The queen watched, her 6 arms folded, her heart heavy. She had been driven from her throne, hunted across the stars, and now rescued by an AI who spoke of a master too brilliant for company. It was almost funny. Almost. When the repairs were complete, Bella presented her with a weapon, a quasi-sonic cannon, sleek and humming with restrained power. A gift, Bella said. From the Smithy. For your trouble. The queen cradled the cannon, feeling its weight, its promise. This could win me the war. Bella's hologram flickered. Indeed. The queen's mandibles clicked softly. As she boarded her repaired ship, the queen glanced back at the asteroid, at the hidden turrets, at the machines that whispered of a mind too vast for companionship. She felt a pang of sadness, sharp. She was a queen without a kingdom, a woman without solace. And somewhere in the shadows of the asteroid field, a man of machines lived alone, brilliant and forgotten. She whispered to herself, perhaps we are not so different. Victory tasted sweet, but loneliness lingered bitter. Queen Arachne had reclaimed her homeworld, her people cheering as she unfurled her banners across the spires of her capital. Yet in the quiet of her chambers, she sat alone, her 6 arms folded, her eyes staring into the void. The quasi-sonic cannon had turned the tide, but it had also reminded her of the Smithy, the recluse whose brilliance had saved her, whose solitude mirrored her own. Her captain, Thera, stormed into the chamber, armor clanking. My queen, the Scorpio Alliance gathers. And worse, the Crab Nebula armadas march with them. Fleet Admiral Crusher and General Pincer have joined forces with Lord Deathclaw. It is, well, it is bad. Growlox, her chief advisor, shuffled in behind, his antennae twitching nervously. Bad is an understatement. It is catastrophic. It is the sort of alliance that makes historians weep and poets quit. The queen sighed. So, my victory was but a prelude. Thera slammed a fist against her chest. We must fight. Growlox wrung his hands. We must hide. Thera glared. Coward, Gralox sniffed. Pragmatist. The queen raised a hand, silencing them both. We must seek help. Thera frowned. From whom? Gralox's eyes narrowed. From the Smithy, the source of our current success. The queen's 6 eyes widened. You know of him? Yes, Gralox said, his voice trembling but firm. His inventions are legend, his mind unparalleled. Even our enemies wield his weapons. Do you not see? The Crab Nebula soldiers march with blades forged in his designs. The Scorpio Alliance flies ships powered by his engines. His work is everywhere. He is everywhere. He may know a way to stop this before it starts. Thera crossed her arms. If he is so brilliant, why does he not fight? Because, Gralox said, he is tired. Lonely. Sad. Machines do not betray. People do. The queen felt a pang in her chest. She remembered Bella's words, the machines named Gerald, the solitude of the asteroid field. She whispered, lonely. Thera stepped closer. My queen, you are lonely too. The queen's mandibles clicked softly. Yes. Gralox nodded. Then perhaps you will understand him. And perhaps he will understand you. The decision was made. Guided by Bella's transmissions, the queen, Thera, and Gralox boarded her ship and set course for the asteroid field. The journey was tense, filled with bickering and banter. Thera polished her blade obsessively. If this Smithy refuses us, I'll cut him down myself. Gralox gasped. You cannot cut down genius. It is like stabbing a library. Thera smirked. Then I'll stab the library and see what books fall out. The queen chuckled despite her sorrow. You two are insufferable. Thera grinned. We live to serve. Gralox muttered, we live to worry. As the asteroid field loomed, Bella's hologram appeared once more. Welcome back, Queen Arachne. You bring guests. How delightful. I shall alert Gerald. Thera blinked. Gerald? Bella sighed. The mining drill. He gets lonely. Bella guided them deeper into the asteroid field, past turrets disguised as rocks, past drones that hummed like bees. The queen felt anticipation, fear, and something else, a longing she could not name. When at last they reached the Smithy's domain, the queen stood tall, her 6 eyes gleaming, her heart heavy. She would meet the recluse. She would ask for his help. And perhaps, in the shadows of machines, she would find not only salvation for her people, but solace for herself. The asteroid field unfolded like a hidden empire, each rock transformed into a marvel of technology. Queen Arachne Valis, ruler of the rare and affluent Spiderkin, had expected solitude and dust, but what she found was a symphony of invention, personal achievement, and individual innovation. Gardens bloomed beneath domes of artificial sunlight, orchards and hydroponic terraces thriving where barren stone should have reigned. Moisture cultivators whispered as they drew vapor from the void, feeding streams that wound through the greenery. Even the tomatoes seemed to hum with vitality, though Bella, the Smithy's AI servant, dryly noted that they responded best when her master spoke to them directly. He encourages them, Bella explained. They grow faster when praised. Gerald, the mining drill, gets jealous. Beyond the gardens, factories pulsed with molten energy, automated arms assembling alloys while drones ferried components across cavernous halls. The queen's 6 eyes widened as she realized the scale. Enough to build warships, enough to feed fleets, enough to challenge empires. Then entered an unassuming man, bronzed and youthful, walking calmly over to her. I know what you're thinking. So much built, so little to show for it. I build because I must, he said simply. Not because I crave dominion. Bella added, also because he gets bored. Last month he invented self-folding laundry. It rebelled. They descended into underground labs where DNA strands glowed like threads of light, nanite incubators pulsed with potential, and quantum simulators hummed with secrets. The queen, educated across 10 star systems, struggled to keep pace with his explanations. He spoke of refining creation, of bringing order to chaos, of engineering resilience into life itself. Bella, ever the commentator, noted, he once tried to engineer a chicken that laid omelets. It exploded. The queen laughed, her mandibles clicking. Even gods of machines face failure. The Smithy's eyes twinkled. Failure is the forge of wisdom. On platforms overlooking the mining operations, drills burrowed into rock, extracting minerals that shimmered with galactic rarity. Replication chambers multiplied resources exponentially, conveyor belts carrying wealth beyond measure. The queen's voice was solemn as she observed, you command resources that could topple civilizations. The Smithy folded his bronzed arms. I could. But why? Empires rise and fall. Machines endure. Bella added, and conquest involves paperwork. He hates paperwork. In vast warehouses, robots assembled robots, drones sculpted components, and mechanical arms welded frames. One waddled forward, squeaking cheerfully, "Hello, Queen. I am Gerald too." Gerald 1 is busy mining. "Would you like tea?" The Queen blinked. "Tea?" The robot produced a steaming cup. Synthesized from asteroid moss. "Tastes like ambition." Thera, her captain, laughed. "I like this one." Growlox, her advisor, frowned. "I do not trust tea that tastes like ambition." The Queen sipped cautiously. It was bitter, but invigorating. "You give machines personalities," she said. The Smithy nodded. "They are companions. They remind me that solitude need not be silence." Bella sighed. "They also argue. Last week, 2 drones debated philosophy for 12 hours. Neither won." As they walked, the Queen challenged him, her cultured mind eager to test his intellect. If machines endure, what of spirit? What of culture? What of the web of meaning that binds civilizations? His eyes gleamed. Culture is memory. Spirit is pattern. Machines preserve both. The web you speak of is woven in circuits as well as silk. She pressed harder. "But can machines love? Can they dream?" He smiled. "They can simulate both. But love and dreams are not diminished by simulation. They are indirectly glorified. It's up to us to recognize it for what it is." Thera whispered, "He's winning." Growlox muttered, "He's terrifying." The Queen's mandibles clicked softly. "You outmatch me." The Smithy's voice was gentle. "You challenge me." By the time the tour ended, the Queen stood in silence, gazing at the empire hidden in asteroids. Gardens, factories, labs, mines, warehouses, enough to topple civilizations. And yet the Smithy lived alone. She whispered, "You are in charge of enough resources to challenge an empire, perhaps the entire galactic confederation. And yet you do not." His gaze was steady. "Because conquest is emptiness. I have seen empires fall. I have seen ambition devour itself. I choose solitude. I choose creation." Bella added dryly, "He also chooses to avoid meetings. Empires require meetings." The Queen laughed softly, but her heart ached. She was a queen without solace, a woman without comfort. And here stood a man who had everything, yet chose nothing. His loneliness mirrored hers, his brilliance outshone hers, his solitude resonated with hers. She whispered, "Perhaps we are not so different." The Smithy regarded her for a long moment, his bronzed face calm, his eyes ancient and wise. Then he inclined his head. "You have shown me your need. You have shown me your courage. I will help you." The asteroid field stretched out like a labyrinth of stone and shadow, each jagged silhouette a reminder of the peril that lay ahead. The Smithy had been using this exact asteroid field for cover for decades. Queen Arachne Valis stood at the viewport of her ship, her 6 eyes fixed on the path before them, her mind heavy with the weight of war. Beside her, the Smithy, Daedalus Forge, adjusted a device at his belt, then one at his wrist, mapping a precise course through the shifting maze. His bronzed skin glowed faintly in the artificial light, his youthful frame betraying none of the centuries he had lived, sustained by nanites and additives that sharpened his intellect and bound him to every machine in the field. 3 days, he said calmly, his voice resonant, and we will reach the jump point. From there, we'll be within striking distance of the Scorpio Alliance's mega armada. The Queen's mandibles clicked softly. 3 days to contemplate the fate of worlds, she murmured. Or 3 days to argue about intelligence, Daedalus replied with a faint smile, and so began their banter. She spoke of her people's webs, intricate structures woven with precision, metaphors for interconnected wisdom. Each strand is a thought, a memory, a bond, she explained. Together they form a tapestry of meaning. That is arachnid intelligence. Daedalus countered with insect colonies, praising their efficiency, their division of labor, their instinctive engineering. Ants build cities without architects. Bees sustain ecosystems without philosophers. That is insectoid intelligence. The Queen narrowed her eyes. You reduce wisdom to instinct. He answered smoothly, and you elevate instinct to wisdom. Perhaps both are illusions, perhaps what really determines intellect is result and restriction. Their rivalry sparked laughter, and Captain Thera, ever blunt, leaned against the bulkhead. If you two keep this up, I'll start keeping score. Winner claims the other. Growlox muttered darkly, this is dangerous. Intellectual flirtation leads to emotional entanglement. Emotional entanglement leads to disaster. The Queen ignored him, amused. Webs endure. Colonies collapse. Daedalus's eyes gleamed. Colonies collapse, yes. But webs tear. Efficiency rebuilds faster than wisdom repairs. It keeps what wisdom would preserve. Thera grinned. Score 1 for the Smithy. Their debates often dissolved into laughter, fueled by Daedalus's eccentric stories. One evening, as the ship drifted between asteroids, he recounted an experiment gone awry. I once invented self-replicating spoons, he said, perfectly serious. They were meant to reduce labor. Instead, they tried to colonize my workshop. The queen laughed, her mandibles clicking in delight. Even your cutlery seeks empire. Thera nearly choked on her drink. Spoons with ambition. That's a new one. Gralox groaned. Utensils should not aspire. Daedalus shrugged. Ambition is universal, even in metal. The queen's laughter lingered, echoing in the corridors, and for the first time in weeks she felt lightness in her chest, a reprieve from the weight of war. She realized that his brilliance was not only terrifying but profoundly human, flawed, humorous, alive. As the days passed, she found herself drawn to him. His philosophical depth, his intellect, his calm stirred something within her. Her pheromones betrayed her, releasing subtly whenever he was near. To her shame she began stalking him. Her ship, full of upper-deck areas, and holes which led the inner sanctums and chambers that lined the ceiling and vents along the ship, were teeming with interesting viewpoints. Queen Arachne found herself curled up at the far end of a corner watching the Smithy as he worked on a small circular device alone. It was nearly impossible for the queen to release her pheromones without any of the others realizing. Thera noticed after half a day of Queen Arachne avoiding the Smithy, yet watching him at a distance, and said bluntly, "Spiderkin don't hide feelings. Shoot your shot, my queen." Gralox sputtered, "This is inappropriate. He is human. He is recluse. He is complicated." But the queen ignored him. One evening, as the stars shimmered beyond the viewport, she turned to Daedalus. "I feel a connection," she admitted quietly. "Something rare, something unexpected. You are not at all what I imagined." His bronzed face softened, his eyes ancient yet uncertain. "I feel something too, but I do not understand it." She pressed gently, "Then let us explore it. Even if our paths diverge, even if our futures do not align, let us see where it leads." He regarded her for a long moment, intellect weighing possibilities, heart stirring beneath centuries of solitude. "Perhaps," he said finally, "we should." Their banter soon turned strategic. Between debates and laughter, they analyzed the Scorpio alliance, seeking weaknesses. The queen spoke of Lord Deathclaw's arrogance, his obsession with domination. "He believes marriage is conquest," she said bitterly. "He underestimates those who refuse him." Daedalus nodded. "Arrogance breeds blind spots. He will overextend." They studied the Crab Nebula armadas, led by Fleet Admiral Crusher and General Pincer. Daedalus observed patterns in their communications, subtle inefficiencies in their coordination. "Too many claws," he remarked dryly. "Not enough brains." The queen laughed. "You insult them with elegance." Thera leaned forward. "So what's the weakness?" Daedalus's eyes gleamed. "Their unity is fragile. The Scorpio Alliance and Crab Nebula forces are bound by ambition, not loyalty. Strike at their cohesion, and they fracture." Gralox frowned. "Easier said than done." Daedalus smiled faintly. "Not easier. Smarter." Their debates became war councils, their laughter punctuated by revelations, and the queen marveled at his mind, his ability to weave strategy from philosophy, efficiency from instinct. She realized that his intellect consistently outmatched hers, even with her cultivated knowledge and varied education. Yet she did not resent it. She admired it. She desired it. His presence made her attention sharpen to a razor edge when they spoke. Her spine tingled in shuddering anticipation and expectancy when she knew he was near, or that she was going to find or meet him. Their talks, their laughter, their discoveries, all were interrupted by violence. As the ship neared the jump point, alarms blared. Scorpio Alliance fighters descended, engines shrieking, weapons blazing. Thera leapt to her station. "Ambush." Gralox panicked. "We are doomed." The queen stood tall, her 6 eyes blazing. "We are not doomed. We are prepared." Her eyes shot to the Smithy, who she did not know what he was going to do, but knew with absolute certainty that he would be dealing with this attack in seconds without fail. Daedalus stepped forward, calm amid chaos, and activated a device on his belt, and it expanded into the circular, technological artifact he had been working on days ago. It leapt from his hand and vanished from the ship, teleporting out into the space between the Spiderkin ship and the oncoming Scorpio Alliance armada. The void out in open space shimmered, then erupted. Trillions of nano-fighters manifested, a storm of twisting metal forms that surged through space like a tidal wave. They ripped through the enemy fleet, shredding ships, dismantling fighters, annihilating the armada with a smaller, more efficient fighting force. The void became a maelstrom of destruction, a symphony of engineered fury. The queen watched in awe, her heart pounding. "You wield storms." His bronzed face was calm. "I wield necessity." Thera cheered. "Score 1 for the Smithy." Growlocks whimpered. This is unnatural. The storm dissolved, leaving silence in its wake. The enemy fleet was gone, reduced to debris scattered across the void. Daedalus turned to the queen, his eyes steady. We must press onward, to the Scorpio core, to end this before it consumes the cosmos. The queen's mandibles clicked softly, her voice trembling with awe and something deeper. You are brilliant. You are terrifying. You are mine. Daedalus regarded her, his intellect unmatched, his heart stirring. Perhaps, he said quietly, I am. And so they pressed onward, their bond deepening, their laughter echoing, their banter weaving strategy and affection into one. In the silence between words, in the space between stars, love began to take shape. Love in the ether, fragile yet enduring, a web stronger than empires and more lasting than storms. The ship drifted silently through the void, its hull scarred purposefully to look like it barely survived the onslaught from the last battle, its crew resolute, alert, and fresh. Queen Arachne Valis stood at the viewport, her 6 eyes fixed on the stars, her mandibles clicking softly in thought. Beside her, Daedalus Forge adjusted the controls of his electrosonic remote with calm precision and then integrated into his technologically advanced nano-mesh armor, looking like a harmless, almost electronically invisible suit. Arachne adjusted the zipper, clicking a latch on the underside, and smirked a bit, his bronzed skin gleaming faintly in the artificial light. They had survived debates about webs and colonies, and confessions whispered in the ether. Yet destiny had not finished with them. What do you predict once we approach Scorpio space? Asked the queen. Aggression, ambush, posturing. I'm going to set the device on your carapace to self-detonate and then auto-fabricate the suit we designed when you give your signal, said the Smithy with a nod. What signal? Tell him his throne will become your throne, smirked the Smithy calmly. Maybe not in those words. You can paraphrase and the armor will react. The attack came without warning. A ripple in the void, a shimmer of cloaked ships, and suddenly the vessel shuddered under the impact of stealth weaponry. Alarms blared, systems failed, and before Thera could curse or Growlocks could panic, the ship was disabled. Darkness swallowed them, and when light returned, it was not the familiar glow of their own corridors but the harsh crimson of the Scorpion Palace on planet Redder. Chains bound them, though Daedalus's eyes betrayed no fear. Queen Arachne stood tall despite her captivity, her 6 arms restrained but her dignity intact. Lord Deathclaw entered with a swagger, his claws gleaming, his laughter echoing through the chamber. So, he sneered, the queen who denied me, and the recluse who thinks himself a god. How fitting that you should both kneel before me now after all your efforts. The queen's mandibles clicked in disdain. I kneel to no one. Deathclaw grinned. You will kneel when I make you mine. A forced union, a marriage of conquest. Your webs will be mine, your people enslaved, your throne a trophy. I will have your people's coveted silk. Trade will explode along the galaxy when I flood the market with your people's fabled tapestries. With Spiderkin and silkworm slaves what will weave whatever their masters desire. And you, will lay me more eggs, more children to weave more silk. Daedalus spoke calmly, his voice cutting through the jeers. You mistake possession for power. A union forced is no union at all. It is only a guarantee of betrayal. Deathclaw laughed, joined by his consorts from the Crab Nebula, Fleet Admiral Crusher and General Pincer. Listen to him, the hermit philosopher, the man of machines, preaching about forced unions. I looked into our records and others after my forces were removed from the Spiderkin hub worlds. Those quasi-sonic weapons were unmatched 400 years ago. My forces were bested by ancient technology. I thought you were long dead, Smithy. A myth. Image my surprise to learn the myth still lived. Daedalus's eyes gleamed with ancient wisdom. A myth, perhaps, but myths endure longer than tyrants. I too was a tyrant, a swine like you, Deathclaw. The queen turned to him, despite her bondage, her 6 eyes wide. What do you mean? Daedalus drew a breath, his voice resonant, his words heavy with history. Before the Confederation, there was chaos. Wars unending, races tearing each other apart. I was there. I built the weapons that ended those wars. Our weapons forged the treaties, the accords, the peace. I was the architect of the Confederation, the hidden hand that bound the galaxy together. The chamber erupted in laughter. Deathclaw doubled over, his claws clattering against the floor. Crusher sneered. Pincer wheezed. You? Deathclaw roared. You expect us to believe that you, a recluse tinkering with spoons and drills, ended the Great War? Daedalus's bronzed face remained calm. Queen Arachne's heart hammered in her chest, and pulsed along her limbs, hanging on his every word. The Great War never ended, Deathclaw. Ripping himself from his bonds, the Smithy stood, terrifying before the confused Scorpio alliance and its leaders. The guards at the sides of the walls and exits approached cautiously, as Daedalus glared forward at Deathclaw, who stood awestruck now. Folding his hand behind his back and staring out into the red sky and stone statues in the distance, he continued. As the varying races vied for power, there was no end to the killing and suffering. After each battle, each genocide, a new weapon, a new terror ripped along the cosmos. I had to do something, so I created the evil that eats other evils. I became the death that deals death. And so, when I was done, I replaced evil with death. When the ones who couldn't fight finally stopped squabbling, they decided on peace. I let them call it the Galactic Confederation. I reminded them that peace is not the absence of war. Their side of the war couldn't compete with technology designed to kill absolutely. And so the balance is maintained. You dare spit blasphemies in my home? On my glorious day, human? These words are no truth, they are lies from a deranged animal, said Deathclaw angrily. Kill him now, before he speaks any more nonsense, said General Pincer. The human speaks truth, as do I, said Queen Arachne, taking the stage. Every eye looked to her in the moment, as the Smithy grinned up at his bonded partner. Their mind, though not psychically connected, were one in the moment. This altar shall become my throne, she said. At her last word a burst of green energy ripped along the altar, binding her arms and legs to the two pillars. What the, yelled Deathclaw, but he was too late, as he and the others were pushed along the side of the execution grounds, and the queen, now donned in a seething technologically advanced battlesuit, rose gracefully from a crouching position and into a hunting stance, every bit the predator her race of Spiderkin were born to be. And then the void itself seemed to answer her newfound freedom. The walls trembled, the skies darkened, and swarms of drones descended upon the planet. They poured from hidden vaults, from secret caches, from the ether itself, innumerable and relentless. They scorched the skies, glassed the surface, obliterated fleets stationed around the palace. The dream of domination died, replaced by screams, chaos, and terror. Deathclaw's eyes widened, his arrogance faltering. What is this? Daedalus's voice was quiet, almost gentle. This is inevitability. The queen engaged the oncoming guards, her smaller frame able to match the large Scorpio soldiers and their glowing tails as the drones swept across the planet, their fury unmatched, their precision terrifying. She realized then that Daedalus Forge was not merely a recluse, not merely a genius. He was history itself, the mind that had shaped galaxies, the hand that had ended wars, the architect of peace and destruction alike. And so did Deathclaw, as he placed a hand to the ground and metal at his feet raised him up and away from the execution grounds and into the upper reaches of the palace to safety. The palace shook when he entered, walls crumbling, flames rising. Daedalus turned to her, his eyes steady. We must finish this. We have to go after him or this never ends. The queen's battlesuit shimmered with threads of silk and steel, her 6 arms armed with blades and cannons. Daedalus pulled his remote from his suit, his mind already linked to every weapon, every drone, every machine flying around outside the palace, but he would not let them move in. As the queen ripped along the outer reaches of the palace walls, and the sand gardens near the eastern wing, General Pincer and Admiral Crusher stared at the Smithy, realizing he had no weapon as he replaced the remote, having locked down the palace with it. Kill him, yelled Admiral Crusher, remembering his sidearm. Before he could reach for it, the Smithy reached up to the zipper of his suit and pulled it off. He placed it between his thumb and pointer, and pulled the small trigger, atomizing the Admiral before he could fully draw. With another subtle pull of the trigger, the General was gone as well. Guards, overcoming their confusion, ran in at him, but they fizzed and flit from sight at every press of the zipper, a storm of intellect and fury killing in bloodless silence. Enemy soldiers rushed from the outer ramparts and from the inner parts of the palace now, wielding weapons forged from Daedalus's own designs. The irony was not lost on him. They use my inventions against me, he remarked dryly. Proof that genius permeates even the unworthy. The queen laughed, slicing through a squad with elegance. Your genius is everywhere, even in spoons. They pressed onward, their banter weaving through battle. Webs endure, the queen declared, striking down a clawed warrior. Efficiency rebuilds faster, Daedalus countered, atomizing a group of oncoming Scorpio mech warriors. Wisdom repairs deeper, she retorted. Instinct adapts quicker, he replied. Their laughter mingled with the clash of steel, their intellect sparking even amid chaos. At last, they reached the throne room. Deathclaw stood waiting, his claws gleaming, his armor bristling with stolen technology. You think you can end me? He roared. I am the Scorpio Alliance. I am destiny. Daedalus's eyes gleamed. Destiny, like war, is a story told by victors. Let us see who writes the ending. The duel began, a clash of claws and blades, of intellect and fury. The queen struck with precision, her webs ensnaring, her blades slicing. Daedalus stepped along the battleground, watching the fight with interest and calculating the odds of Arachne decapitating him at more than 89%. Deathclaw fought with rage, his claws tearing, his arrogance fueling him. But arrogance is brittle, and intellect is steel. The queen's mandibles clicked in defiance. You sought to force union. You sought to enslave. You sought to conquer. But you forgot one truth. Webs are woven by choice, not by chains. Daedalus watched her duck a wild swing, that transitioned into a powerful spin, sending Deathclaw's armored tail slashing into the queen. Now she struck. The queen's blades pierced through the armored tail, and she advanced, as the great Scorpio man shuddered in brain-lancing pain and shock. Before he could recover, Queen Arachne ripped two bladed limbs through his two left arms and neck, ending him. And Deathclaw fell, his reign undermined, his arrogance silenced. The palace crumbled around them, flames rising, chaos consuming. Yet amid the ruins, there was peace. The queen stood beside Daedalus, her 6 eyes soft, her mandibles clicking quietly. I love you, she admitted, uncertain, vulnerable. I do not wish to see another day without you by my side. Daedalus's bronzed face softened, his intellect yielding to something deeper. You and I, our physiologies are not compatible. Her head gazed down at him, unsure now of his words. I'd like to find a way to physically explore and pleasure your body with mine. She smiled, her pheromones shimmering, her heart steady. Then let us explore. He nodded, his eyes ancient smiled. Together. And so, amid the ruins of the Scorpion Palace, amid the ashes of fleets and the silence of war, Queen Arachne Valis and Daedalus Forge chose not conquest, not dominion, not perfection, but exploration. A union of mind, heart, and one day, of body. A web woven not by chains but by choice. A storm not of machines but of love. Their laughter echoed through the ruins, their banter continued, their bond deepened. Webs endure, she whispered. Efficiency rebuilds faster, he replied. Wisdom repairs deeper. Instinct adapts quicker.